We're saving and we must act now. Here's a word that you may have never heard of before. It's called global warming. Have you ever...
What do you do for acts of green? Planting milkweed.
What do you do for Acts of Green?
Well, probably the biggest thing that we do is recycling. And this morning we had a discussion in our class about what things we could do to be kind to the earth. And they came up with a whole list of different things. They said that they could make sure they turn out the lights when they leave the room. And in our classroom, we can do 2 sets of lights or 3 sets, and we always go with less lights. And a lot of times when it's chill time, we'll turn out the lights all together and just have a really quiet time. They talked about recycling. Some people said you could plant trees to make sure that there were a lot of trees to give oxygen to the world. Picking up trash was a big one. Reducing, and some kids didn't know what that meant, but we talked about using less of stuff. So whether it's soap or paper, we can always use less of things. So we've just been having discussions so that not just the older people, like the teachers, are doing it, but kids are doing it too.
Another act of green is that we are cleaning up the garden. This is a root that we have pulled out of a pot.
Mr. Derek and Mr. Dennis, what do you do for Acts of Green?
Well, make sure everything is recycled properly. Plastics where plastics go, and trash where trash goes.
Make sure when we're working with oil or fluids that we're cleaning up our spills afterwards so we don't pollute the environment.
Yep. Leave engines not running when we're not using them, so we're not having emissions put into the atmosphere.
All the dead stuff in here and mixing it up so we can use it the soil again.
What do you do for Acts of Green?
So, actually right now what this is right here is me recycling clay, because we can use it from the clay company, and then once it dries we can add water back to this dry clay and we can reuse it, so we don't have to throw it out as an art supply, and we can make new clay with it. So that's a major thing that I do in this room.
Here in the science room, we use rainbows. Rainbows are a barrier that holds rainwater. See this? This is not hose water. This is rainwater.
900 million trees are cut down to make paper. At school, we recycle pop tabs, paper, and cardboard. What do you do at home?
Active Green doesn't have to be outside. Is electronic recycling. You can recycle old computers, iPads, and phones. That's another way to help our earth.
For Acts of Green.
For acts of green at home and at school, or my place of work and at my home. At home, every spring, my wife and I buy plants at Oakland Nursery, and I plant them myself. Many trees, shrubs, bulbs or flowers. We usually plant perennials, not annuals, because perennials last year after year after year. The annuals only come up during one time of the year and then they die in the fall. So we do a lot of planting, and in about 8-10 more years, those little shrubs and trees are going to add so much more oxygen and create homes for the little birds that live near our pond. And when I fertilize the grass, I make sure that the fertilizer doesn't leach into the pond and hurt the frogs, because the frogs are good for the environment. Also here at school, as if you pan the camera over to that corner of the room, I also like oxygen in the room. Therefore, I have a ficus tree growing in the art room, and another plant, I don't remember the name of it. I think it's a Chevallera, but I'm not sure. But those 2 plants keep me happy and give me better oxygen throughout the day. And that's how I keep my world green.
Green is composting.
What do you do of Acts of Green?
Well, in our house, we have quite a bit of yard grasses and leaves, and we have 1.25 acres. And so everything in our yard we recycle for mulch and also for compost. So we recycle the leaves, if we grind up any branches and make mulch out of it, and then we use it on our vegetable gardens and all of our flower gardens.
Yasko, what do you do for Acts of Green?
Mr. Yasko and I recycle. In fact, every week we have more in our recycling bin than we have in our trash can. We just started to do this in our shower. When we turn our shower on to let it warm up, we put a bucket in the shower to save to water our plants. So we reuse that water to water our plants. And then we plant some plants outside to help with the environment.
What do you do for Acts of Green?
First of all, what I try to do every day is to make sure that I think about how much trash I'm creating. So whatever I can do to not create trash, to not add to my trash can, is a good thing. So one thing I do is I make sure that I use things that I can reuse again. So I don't use a lot of napkins at home. I use cloth napkins. I make sure that I don't use a lot of paper towels. I use rags. And I make sure that if I ever buy anything, that it's something that is good for the environment. So maybe it's already been recycled. Those are the kinds of little things I do at home. I also always bring my reusable bags to the grocery store. And I try and stay away from things that I know aren't going to decompose well, like plastic and styrofoam. I never use styrofoam. In my kitchen I have a composting bin, so I put some of my scraps, my fruit and vegetables and coffee grounds and eggshells, all of those go in the composting bin that my worms love. So those are some of the things that I do personally at home. So you should make every day Earth Day.
Bush, our strings teacher, do for Acts of Green?
Miss Bush grows organic veggies and flowers in her backyard.
Miss Bush uses energy-efficient washer and dryer and dishwasher.
Another Acts of Green is...
In M&M Club, we have been making seed packets to attract more monarchs when they make their way back for a little treat. And we are going to give you each one seed packet. Make sure to plant it.
The upper school history teacher, what do you do for Acts of Green?
For Acts of Green, well, one thing that we do, my wife and I do, is we have rain barrels in our garden. I got a rain barrel and I liked it so much that I got another one and another one. And now we have 4 rain barrels. Do you know what rain barrels do?
Yes.
And so they take water that collects in your gutters and would otherwise just go into the ground, and we collect them in big garbage cans, basically, barrels, and then we use that to water our garden, so we're not using water supply to do that.
What do you do for Acts of Green?
Well, me and my mom are planting a garden for like peppers and tomatoes and other edible things.
Yummy.
And your name is?
Rebecca Almanor, 10th grade.
The upper school biology teacher, what do you do for Acts of Green?
You mean for the environment? Is that what you mean by that?
Yes.
Well, I walk to school, and I bring my recycling into school because I don't have it in my apartment. And I've been attempting to plant some trees around here and attempting to save some trees that are stressed by too much activity around them, that sort of thing.
Something else that Mr. Kerr does for us is teach us about the environment.
For Acts of Green.
I'm Cole Walter and I recycle at my house.
Okay, and I'm Christy Benning, and I work with the kids, and we recycle here at the academy, and we ask people to think outside what?
The box.
The box, okay, because we want them to not put things in their trash cans. We want them to think green, and in this receptacle, or in this bin, we have all sorts of bottles and stuff, and in this one, all sorts of paper. Okay, and the upper school students in the service board recycle and empty these bins every F day during break.
Hi, I'm Chinese teacher in upper school, and while I do recycle in my classroom, I put all the paper that we don't use anymore into the recycle bin, and whenever it's full, and then we put into the recycle bin here. And then I also, at home, I also recycle all the paper, all those like those magazine, and bring it back to school to recycle it. And I also cut off those paper if they're still empty space to reuse it again, in case like you don't want to kill any tree more, right? Okay, in Chinese we say Happy Earth Day as 地球日快乐.
We're going around campus picking up trash today.
Acts of
Another act of green.
Hi, I'm Carla Long, head of the middle school, and I have actually been recycling a whole host of different items from paper to plastic to glass to metals since I was a freshman in college in 1990. I have continued that recycling passion through my whole life and recycle here at school and at home. At home, I am in the process of researching composting machines to purchase for the home we just moved into, and I will ideally buy that in the next couple weeks and begin to compost at my house.
Acts of green.